All combined, these hydropower stations today are powerful enough to generate an overwhelming 95% of all of Norway's total electricity demand, while Norway is the 7th largest producer of hydropower anywhere in the world as of 2024, with a total generation rate that is more than half of the United States, but all for only 1/67th of the American population. The harnessing of Norway's hydro might in the early 20th century provided the country with its first major economic boom, as it enabled the country to rapidly industrialize and electrify itself. By 1920, Norway was consuming more electricity per capita than any other country in the world, and more than 2/3 of the population already had access to electricity, which was double the rate in the United States at the time. This huge amount of energy for such a small population then enabled the Norwegians to develop extremely energy-intensive factories that eventually began specializing in refined aluminum production under the Norsk Hydro Corporation, which is today one of the largest aluminum companies in the world. Norsk Hydro continues to source the vast majority of the energy they use to produce refined aluminum from Norway's hydropower, and the company is 34% publicly owned by the Norwegian state. It has enabled Norway to become by far the largest producer of aluminum in Europe, and the 8th largest producer in the world today, which further makes the country the largest provider of aluminum to the European Union. But, just as hydropower continued unlocking Norway's potential in the early 20th century, the industry came to become dominated by the large foreign companies that came to Norway to invest and build all of the dams out. And so, Norway sought to gradually wrest control over them to secure its own national control over its own resources. Norway's small and spread out population lacked large amounts of capital and technical expertise, however. They needed the large foreign investors to help them build out their hydroelectric and factory potential. And so, a straight-up quick nationalization of the foreign investors' assets would have sent all of that foreign investment and expertise they needed fleeing in the future. To avoid that outcome, but to still secure their own control over their own resources, Norway decided on taking a pragmatic and long approach to the hydro industry that would directly influence their approach to the oil and gas industry decades later. Norway established rules that foreign companies who came to invest in Norwegian hydro would have to follow, that included clauses that hydroelectric power stations and mines they built and funded would have to be turned over to the Norwegian government without compensation after a period of 60 to 80 years of operation. This way, the larger foreign companies would continue to invest in the country since they would see a long enough return on their investment, while the Norwegian state knew that in the long run, they would be the ones to secure the keys to their crown jewels, and as a result, more than 90% of Norway's hydro capacity is publicly owned by the state today.